Hello everyone. It is Brenda with Busy Bees Custom Creations. And I did a plate for my niece for her wedding shower a couple weeks ago. And everyone loved it and was like, I want to learn how to etch. So I thought I would come on and show you how to do it. This is a plate from the Dollar Tree. It's just a plain old clear plate. I have a stencil that I made on my Cricut. You will need some rubbing alcohol and something to wipe the plate down. And then you will need this Armor Etch. This is the etching cream that you will need. Let me see if I can to use for the etching. You will need a pair of gloves and a paintbrush. So the first thing you want to do, like I said, is I have this stencil, so that's all ready to go. You can buy them pre-made, whatever. So when you get your plate, you want to clean it, and I just use rubbing alcohol. And what this does is this gets all the oils from your fingers off of the plate and anything that's dirty, and we're putting it on the outside, the bottom of the plate. Okay, so you want to clean that off real good. And then I just use a dry one. And you want to make sure it's dry. Now when you use this etching cream, you definitely want to make sure that you wear gloves. So you want a pair of gloves. Okay, so the plate is nice and clean. So next what we're going to do is we're going to apply our stencil. Let me bring you guys in. I found the easiest way to do this is to put your stencil on the ground or on the table, and then you're going to kind of line up your plate over top of it and then set the plate on it. Okay, and then you're going to apply the stencil. You want to make sure and get all the bubbles off of it. Okay. Because any place that you don't want it to be etched, you want to make sure is covered. You don't want that to get on any areas that you don't want etched. So then I'm going to take the top layer off here. Hopefully I won't have any issues with this. Okay. I'm just going to take the transfer paper off, if I can get it off. Stuck to my finger. Okay, so you're going to leave the stencil on, but take that transfer paper off. And this does take a little bit. I used the, okay, so comes up, and I'm just using my little spatula here to make sure that none of the pieces come off with it. And you want to kind of peel it back. It should just come right off once you get it started here. Take some finessing, but you just got to work with it a little bit. There we go. Okay, so that's off. So now what you want to do is you want to make sure that there's no bubbles or anything like that. Okay, so you want to just kind of really Make sure that stencil's on there nice and good. There's no bubbles that the etching can get under. And if there is, you kind of want to pop them. And you want to go over where you're going to etch. So you want to have a covering around it. If you don't have a covering around it, you'll want to get some masking tape or something like that that's going to cover that area so that it doesn't get on. Because whatever this stuff gets on, it's going to etch. So you kind of want to take your time, get these bubbles out so the etching doesn't get underneath there. You just kind of want to take your time with it. See any bubbles, kind of push them down. Okay. Again, you're just going to keep pushing them down and get them out. You don't want that etching cream to get anywhere underneath where you want it. Okay, so now you're going to want to put your gloves on, because like I said, you don't want to work with this stuff without gloves. Okay. So now what you're going to do is you're going to get your etching cream. Okay. All right. Open that up. And you want to put a liberal amount on. Okay. You want to really get it on there. And I kind of really cover it. And as soon as it starts getting on there, it's going to start the etching process. And you want to just make sure you get every little nook and cranny of where you want etched. And like I said, I really kind of glob it on, but you want to make sure you don't get it anywhere that you don't want etched. And then really for about 5 minutes or so, you keep working it in. Okay, so now we're going to let this sit for 15 minutes, okay? And once okay, so we are back for part 2 of the etching of the plate. So we have our etching cream still on the plate. You can see how nice and thick it was on there. Let me zoom you guys in here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take as much of this etching cream off as we can. And I just have this Mod Podge kind of scraper. And I'm just going to scrape and put it right back in the bottle. Okay. So you see we're getting most of that up. Making a mess, but we're getting most of it up. And putting it right back into the bottle. Because you can reuse this stuff over and over and over again. Okay, so you want to get as much of that off as you can. Scraping as much of this off as we can. We don't want to waste this stuff. Okay, just kind of drag it up. Okay. So you see, I got a good amount of that etching cream off of the plate. Just going to set that on there. I'm going to clean this bottle off before I close it up again. Now this is probably one of the hardest parts. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take these gloves off. We don't need them anymore. Okay, and then we're just going to use our tool here. Now this has a lot of itty bitty pieces to it. So as you can see, this stuck on there really, really well. It's going to come off in little tiny pieces. But that's what you want, because you don't want that etching cream to get underneath your stencil. So this may take a little while to get off. See how well it's stuck on there. And it will be a pain to get off. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that already, that it's etched the plate. So now we've got to take all these little pieces off. Left, go through and get those off. Right. Try taking some rubbing alcohol. Now it's going to look like you're wiping off the etching, but you're not. Just going to help loosen that stuff up and get that off a little easier. Okay. There we go. Okay. All right, there we have our etched plate. Let's see if I can put it on something tonight. I just wanted to show that to you. It's kind of hard to see, but you kind of get the idea. You can also put, there's a paint that you can put over it to make it stand out a little more. If you guys want to try that. I think I have, here's the black paint, and it's called Fabric Block Printing Ink. Can you guys see that? And you kind of, it's a really thick paint, and you just kind of paint it on. And again, you kind of cover the design really well, and then you have to let it sit for, you don't have to do as thick of a coat. You let it sit for a little while and let it dry, or you can use a hair dryer. And dry it a little bit. You don't want to wipe it off with a wet towel. You want to wipe it off with a dry towel, because otherwise you will wipe off the ink. And you just kind of want to let that sit until it hardens a little bit. And it's a subtle change. It's not a real, you know, drastic change. You're not gonna, it's not gonna be like black. It kind of comes out to be gray. And it comes out, you know, where you can see it a little better like that. So again, you kind of want to let that sit. So this is with that paint on it. So you can kind of really see the design a little better. But you do want to let that sit for a little while and kind of soak in. Let it dry. I should have brought a hair dryer over here. And then, like I said, you want to get paper towels. Let me go get some of those. And this stuff doesn't really once it's dry, it does not wipe off real easily. So you kind of want to let it dry. And you can do a couple coats too. You don't have to do just one coat. And then you just start wiping it off. You can already see that it's a little more visible. Again, you don't want to use a wet rag because you'll take that off. And I'm going to wear gloves for this too because it's kind of messy. Okay. And then see how much better you can see that design. Show you. So see the design now? How much better you can see that? And again, this is just called Speedball Fabric Block Printing Ink. And it comes in all different colors. And you just put it on and let it sit for a couple minutes. You can even do a couple coats to kind of make it a little darker. But that kind of helps you see the design. If you don't want just the etching look, if you don't want it to be subtle, you want it to be a little brighter, you can use any of these inks. Like I said, it comes in several different colors, and it just kind of soaks into that. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Drop a comment down below if you're going to try this or have tried it. And have a wonderful evening. Take care, guys. Bye.